have our usual crew coming in here and talking about fantasy baseball, fantasy sports, and this segment brought to you by webfriends.com. It's New Year's, and what better way for the New Year's is to have some New Year's resolution. If you're single, one of the New Year's resolutions you might have is to get a friend or meet somebody to hang out with in 2012 on webfriends.com. So to find out more, go to webfriends.com for people who need to meet somebody, and that's it. Hey, guys, what's happening today? Happy New Year.
Same to you.
And let me ask you this question. Webfriends.com, I mean, if you're going to make a New Year's resolution, I mean, this is an ideal spot to go, especially if you're looking for that special someone.
Well, people do make New Year's resolutions, often to lose weight, get in shape, eat better, stop smoking, and they also make a resolution if they're single to find someone to hang out with in the new year. So this is actually the biggest time of the year for online dating services.
Okay, let's move right along. Let's quickly get into fantasy baseball. And, I mean, right now, if you were thinking about doing any type of drafting, where would you start? Pitching?
Well, with fantasy baseball, you rarely start with pitching. Most people say pitching in real baseball is 80% of the game. I guess that's a little debatable. But when it comes to fantasy baseball, it's very clear what it is. It's 50% of the game because 50% of the stats come from the pitching side. And, I've always thought that when it comes to fantasy baseball, a strategy for picking up pitchers, especially starting pitchers, is to look for those guys that, project to be sleepers, guys that are going to have real value because everyone knows that, Verlander and Halladay are the two guys that you want, and they're going to be highly coveted in first-round draft picks. But after that, you get into the second-tier pitchers. That's where you can really make or break your fantasy baseball season. So we've come up with on fantasybaseballdugout.com. We've come out with our hot stove top 15 starting pitcher sleepers for 2012.
Okay, let's go down through each of them.
Well, our number one guy coming into the new year is Yu Darvish. The Texas Rangers have won the rights to negotiate with Darvish, and they have until January the 18th to sign him, or he'll go back and pitch for the Nippon Ham Fighters again. But Darvish, if you go on our site, you'll see some video of Darvish, and my gosh, his stuff is just absolutely nasty. He was the MVP of the World Baseball Classic. He was 18-6 with a 1.44 ERA. Now, he's pitched in the Japanese League now for 6 years, and every season he's had a sub-2 ERA. So he comes to America this year in MLB with more impressive stats than Daisuke did a few years ago. And perhaps his most impressive stat is, now, do you remember this, Pete?
No.
He was actually married to our baseball's hottest wife in 2010.
I didn't think you wanted that type of stat. You know what I mean?
Well, what stat is more impressive than that? In 2010, our third year of baseball's hottest wives, we had a big push on the last 2 days from a lot of Japanese voters who voted Seiko Darvish as baseball's hottest wife.
Yeah, and I remember that too. Now that you bring it up, Happy New Year. Go ahead, keep going.
Another guy we really like is Matt Moore, the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, if you want to do something impressive when you get called up late in the season to the bigs, it's face the New York Yankees, pitch 5 innings, and strike out 11, and that's exactly what Moore did last year. Then he went into the ALDS against the Rangers. He pitched 10 innings against the Rangers in the ALDS and only allowed 1 run. So that's a heck of a start for a young rookie. He was 12-3, 1.92 with 210 strikeouts last year and just 155 innings pitched in the minors, and certainly has some impressive stats. And the Rays know that. They signed him in the off season on a 5-year deal with 3 years additional option. So Matt Moore is going to be locked up for the Tampa Bay Rays for many years. He's our number 2 sleeper starting pitcher prospect for 2012. Another guy we really like is Julio Teheran of the Atlanta Braves. He's a legitimate Rookie of the Year candidate for a very pitching-rich team down in Atlanta this year. He received a late call-up last year, but his stats at Gwinnett last year were equally impressive, 15-3 with a 2.55 ERA. Another guy we really like was a reliever last year for the White Sox, and that's Chris Sale. He was a setup man, and when it comes to setup men, you really don't get much respect in fantasy baseball, but he's going to be looking to move into the starting rotation this year. For the past 2 seasons, he's averaged 10.6 strikeouts per 9 innings pitched and has held opponents to a .203 batting average. So we really like Chris Sale of the Chicago White Sox.
Okay.
Another guy we really like is Brandon Beachy of the Braves. He made 25 starts last year, and he had some real tough luck. Another guy who gets a lot of strikeouts, he averaged 10.7 strikeouts per 9 innings pitched. He had a 1.21 whip and a 3.68 ERA. So you would think in 25 starts he'd have done a little bit better than his 7 wins indicated. So he was a real tough luck pitcher last year, and we think he can be good for 15 wins this year for the Braves.
Okay, guys, listen, we're going to take a timeout before we come back. More of fantasy baseball with the Bences, of course, on this segment brought to you by webfriends.com. You're listening to Spadora on Sports. Check out my website at spadoraonsports.com. Sorry about that. I have to pay the piper. Okay, we're back here, Spadora on Sports, talking with the Bences here, fantasy baseball. Of course, the topic right there. Bob, let's go on. Continue with pitchers before we wind up, and then I want to go into the John's expertise with the lingerie football division.
Yeah, for sure. Well, just to finish up here, a few more starting pitcher sleepers for 2012. A rookie out of Colorado, Drew Pomeranz. He's a 6'5" lefty. 20 starts last year in the minor leagues. He had a 1.78 ERA and a 189 batting average against. So we would actually have him a lot higher, except he's going to have to pitch in Coors Field as a lefty. So, but he's still going to be a real solid starter for the Rockies this year. It could even be an all-star member. Another guy we really like is Corey Lubke of the Padres. He was only 6-10 with a 3.29 ERA last year, but he moved from the bullpen and into the starting rotation just before the All-Star break. He gets to pitch at the cavernous Petco Park in San Diego. Another guy who averages more than 1 strikeout per inning, Corey Lubke of the Padres. How about Guillermo Moscoso of the Oakland Athletics? 27-year-old rookie last year. He was 8-10 with a 3.38 ERA and a 1.09 WHIP. He's not a strikeout guy, but he gets to pitch in Oakland where a lot of fly balls fall in the outfielders' gloves. So we like Guillermo Moscoso of the A's. And another guy, a guy you probably know from last year, a rookie coming up this year also for the A's. He was included in that Gio Gonzalez deal with the Washington Nationals, and that's Brad Peacock, who pitched at Harrisburg and Syracuse last year. He was 15-3, 2.01 ERA, 10.9 strikeouts per 9 innings pitched. He's going to have to compete for a spot in Oakland. They got a lot of young pitchers right now, but Brad Peacock is the guy that we have our eye on for 2012.
Okay. If you guys want to know more about the Bences, check out my website, spadoraonsports.com. We have them all over there, also on the Friends page, and you can click on and go to fantasybaseballdugout.com. Okay, John, where are you at with the lingerie fantasy football?
Well, for the last 16 weeks, Pete, we've been talking about NFL fantasy football. But now, really, the time is now to talk about true fantasy football, and that would be the Lingerie Football League. So I know we had mentioned it a couple weeks back, on and off here. The league right now is on a hiatus to celebrate the holidays. So the girls are at home, spending time with their families. But coming up this Friday, New Year, season continues, and the Orlando Fantasy will be taking the field this upcoming week against the Tampa Breeze. So you got a little in-state rivalry there in the LFL coming up on Friday, and you can catch that on MTV2 every Friday night. The games are on MTV2, and they show the real games instead of just like a recap. So if you want to actually watch these girls in action, MTV2 is the place to catch it. Now, to kind of if we have enough time to just get into the standings here real quick, every team in the LFL plays 4 games. It's a 4-game season, and they play them spread out throughout the entire length of the NFL season. And the Philadelphia Passion have played all 4 of their games to this point in the regular season. They are undefeated, and they, by far, are the highest-scoring team in the league. They've scored 28 touchdowns, and no other team in the league most of the teams have played at least 3 games, but no other team in the league has even scored 20 touchdowns yet so far this season. So the Passion are clearly looking like the elite team from an offensive standpoint. They're 4-0. They've clinched a playoff spot, and they look like, they look like they're in the driver's seat. Last year they went to the Lingerie Bowl against Los Angeles, and they look like they're well on track to repeating that this year. The second best team, actually, on paper, is out in Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Sin. But the second highest scoring team in the league is the team that you're going to see Friday night, the Orlando Fantasy. Now they've played 2 games. They're 2-0. They've got some obvious talent on the field, and they're going to be taking the field, like I said, on Friday against Tampa. And they have 2 games left, but they're already the second highest scoring team in the league. So definitely, if you need an extra reason to watch these girls play football on Friday nights, you have your second reason there with the high octane Orlando Fantasy offense. And the one thing that we really like talking about, we like talking about what's going on with the actual sport. But the girls, right? That's the thing that your listeners seem to like the most. Your studio talent seems to like the most, and to be honest, we do as well. And our LFL Girl of the Week to start off your 2012 calendar year is Ashley Salerno of the LA Temptation. She's the quarterback of the LA Temptation, and she's easily the hottest quarterback in all of Los Angeles, no question about it. As cute as Matt Barkley really is. She's easily the hottest quarterback.
Let me ask you this question, and I know that a lot of folks, those folks that watch fantasy lingerie football and stuff like that, but is there a large following of this sport from the fan base? Is the fan base growing over this past year?
Yeah, well, the LFL actually is the fastest. I think they claim on their website that they are the fastest growing professional sports league. Take that statistic for what you will, considering how many professional sports leagues there are. But to talk about the popularity of the LFL, their time slot, 10:30, I believe it's right around 10 p.m. Eastern on MTV2 when their game's there. I believe that is the highest rated show on MTV2. About 6.5 million viewers a week. Wow. So when you're looking at the popularity of the sport, they play 1 game a week, which is why the season takes so long, even though the teams only play 4 games. So every team that's on gets that prime time slot. So the league's accessible for people, and people are watching the games on MTV2.
Okay. Well, listen, guys, great job once again. Happy New Year. We hate to say goodbye, but we have to pay some commercials. But we'll get you back next weekend for some more on both sides, okay?
Sounds good.
Yep. You bet. Happy New Year, guys. You're listening to Spadora on Sports. Check out my website, SpadoraOnSports.com. You can check out John's blog and also go to